Yo, welcome back to our Excel. So now we are back here. Remember the first formula, the formula for calculating the grade as we have seen there is if, which is logic formula. Remember we have our own first cases here on cell F3. As I select it, you can see it here, cell F3. So this is the cell we're going to be using. Then once we are done writing the formula for this one, we can just copy the formula down for the remaining using autofill. You will see that's how it works. Those of you that are familiar with Excel, you already understand what I mean by that. So we'll go to grade. Remember we're starting with equal sign. So we say equal to if, we open brackets. The first thing we need is the first argument we need is the logical test. We're saying that if cell F3 is greater than or equals to 70, comma, for the value if true, in the double quotes we put A. You already know why we're using double quotes now. So comma, the value if false, we move to our second condition. So we're still using if inside if. Okay, so we come with another if again, using the same, focusing on the same cell, that if F3, the same value in there, is greater than or equals to, this time around is going to be 60, which is the second condition, comma, value if true, then we print B. So in the double quote we close it, comma, we go with the next condition. So if F3 is greater than or equals to 50, this time around, value if true, if that is true, we'll print C. So in the double quotes, comma, value if false, we'll go to on the next condition that, okay, if F3 is greater than or equals to 45, comma, value if true, we'll print D, comma, next is the last condition, that if F3 is greater than or equals to, Samarana is going to be 40, we are on the range of A now, is greater than or equals to 40, the letter grade here is E, else if it is any other thing that is less than 30, 39 downward, then 39 below, then the letter grade for the particular score is F. Remember we opened 5 logical formula, 5 if function. So we're going to close everything, and the last one is going to be tick black. So we're going to close everything. Yeah, we're on the last one. So hit enter, and that is it. You see, it printed A for us here because this is more than 70. Okay, let's go back and try to test run it and change values in it. Maybe I change this place to 34. Check it out, F instantly. If I change it to maybe like 40, you can see E. If I change to something like 44, you still see the same E. But if I change to something like let's say 46, you see D. And if I change to something like 56, for instance, you see C. If I change to something like maybe 60, you see B. But with the moment, let's say if you have something like 69, you still see what? B. If you like have 69, if you like have 69.9, it will still be that B. But the moment it enters 70, so that is A. See, the formula is working perfectly. So there's something called autofill in Microsoft Excel. Now we have typed in this formula. You can see it on the formula bar here. We have typed in this formula already, and this is the same formula we need down here for the remaining courses. So all we need to do is to go there. There's something called autofill. You see, on any active cell is that blue green rectangle you are seeing. On any active cell, you will see this small button there. As my cursor come there, you see that it's changed to very thick plus. You see that, but I mean the black thick black slim plus. This normal one is thick bold. Okay, this one is bold, but now you see that it into what? Very black, and it's very tiny. Okay, so that is the autofill. Once it changed to that option, it means that on the autofill you can just drag and get the same thing downward. We want the same formula downward, so the only thing we need to do is to just drag it, and that is all. It will autofill it. Those of you familiar with Excel, you already know what this means. For those of you who are not familiar, this is called autofill. don't mind it. On the first one is F3, okay, but if you move to the next one, you see that it will be echoing the row for it. You can see now it's changed to F4. So that is how it will keep working. For anyone, it will be working based on it. Okay, they are relative. Okay, it work with the cell reference. That's how we call it in Excel. Okay, this is for the grade points. Okay, but before we proceed, let's try this with random real value. You know what I mean by that? Because it's not possible for you to get 100. Even if you're having A, it's not possible for you to get 100. In fact, I don't know if it's possible to get 100 in university. Although people can get it, but I just don't think it's possible. But nothing is impossible. So let me get a random figures that will fill in that space for us, so that we can have a nice look of the work we are doing. So I'm going to use this formula to just run some figures. So I'm going to run it. Let's say the lowest one should be for 41, okay, and the highest one should not pass 87. Let me run that numbers. Okay, so I think I have what I can use here. Okay, I have real value that I can use to test run this. It's too high. Something like this. Okay, so I'm just going to replace this 100 by real value. Okay, so I'm done with this thing. Just go. So now that we have real value, you can see how this is working. Now that we have real value, you can see that it's showing. You can see now, see everything now. Okay, it's working like real result now, right? All right, so let's proceed. The next thing is the grade point, which I have explained. A is 5, B is 4, C is 3, D is 2, E is 1, and F is 0. So for the grade points, we're also using the same formula for it, the same if formula, but this time around, you see there is difference. We're not using letter grade anymore, we're using the grade points for each of the letter grade. So if it is 70 before, we said it's A, right? Now it will be 5. You can see that value through 5. If it is 64, if it is 53, and if it is 45, 2. If it is 41, and anything less than 40 is 0. Voila, that is how it will work. Now let's go back to our Excel and implement this. So back here in our Excel, we're going to use the same if formula. So the only thing I'm going to do is just to copy the one we have before. So I'll just click here. Sorry, I'm doing copy to buy us time because this is taking longer time in recording itself. So I don't want it to take you longer time while following it. So I'm just going to copy what I have in here. Okay, I'm copying it. So we'll move to our grade points and I'm going to paste it. So now this time we are going to change it. Anywhere we have letter grade, we change it to number. And since we are dealing with number now, it don't have to be in a double quotes anymore. So we can lift it directly, let it just be. So now for 60, which is B, is going to be 4, and for C is going to be 3. For D is going to be 2. For E is going to be 1. And for F is going to be 0. And that is it. That is all we need. So it's the same if formula. You know, this way everything is automated and it's a lot more easier for us. So let's hit the enter key and you see the miracle there. You can see that since this is B, it changed to 4, and that is going to apply to every letter grade we have there. So remember there's something called autofill. Like we have used it for the grade. Using the autofill, the thing we need to do now is to go to the first value we have there, then we drag it down to have the same formula copied down, and that is it. As you can see now, it's working perfectly. Like in the place where this score is 42, which the letter grade is E, you can see that this is E is 1. As you can see there, is showing that 1, and where it is D, which is 2, you can see that 2, and where we are having like 59, which is C, as you can see the 3 there. So this whole thing is working perfectly, and this is the hardest part of the job. And as you can see, it's not hard actually. Okay, so the next thing to do now is to proceed to the last stage of the column, which is the total grade point, the weighted grade point. The weighted grade point is getting by multiplying the credit unit by the grade point for each of the letter. Like as we have discussed before, your score is not what they're using for your CGPA. Is the grade provided by your score and the value, the grade point provided by the grade, by the letter grade. That's what it's using for your CGPA. So in getting your weighted grade point is the multiplication of the credit unit by the grade point. Here we have the credit unit on column E and we have the grade point on column H. So all we need to do here is to implement a very simple formula, which is multiplication. To do this, just click on the first one there. Let's work with the first one so that we'll copy the formula down. We're using just multiplication. So we're going to say equal to, the first thing we have is on column E row 3. So we're saying E3, that is cell E3, multiply using the asterisk, multiply by H3. And that is it. We hit the enter key and it does the calculation. This one is just multiplication and very simple. So this is just like 4 times 2, giving you 8. So we need the same formula downward, so we don't need to be repeating it. There's no time. So all we need to do is just to copy this down to fill up for the remaining courses, and we get that settled. The whole table is now perfect. Okay, the next stage now is to get the summation for the total credit unit and the summation for the total grade points. Now in getting this, we can use different way. We can use mouse formula, that is summing it directly with mouse. For instance, I'm going to just run that on the credit unit, and for total grade point we're going to type the formula. Some of you are familiar with this, while some are not yet familiar with it, how it works. So in getting the credit unit, all you need to do is to drag down. Now we are summing using auto sum. When you want to use auto sum, leave a space where you want the solution to be. Okay, so now on the home tab we'll go to the editing section here where we have the sum. This is the auto sum. Actually, you can click on the arrow down there, you see a lot of things here you can perform automatic there, like stuff like that, you can see them. So we're going with sum and we have the auto sum here. Okay, the next step is to get the total the summation of the total grade point. In getting the summation of the total grade point, this is all we need to do. I'm going to use keyboard formula now, no longer mouse formula, for the sake of those that are not familiar with it. So let me click on this and show you something. In here you can see that there's something that says sum. As I click now, see on the formula bar here, it's showing that okay, equal to sum E3 down to what? E13. Let me explain that while using keyboard formula. So we start with the equal sign and we're using the sum function. So we type sum and open the bracket. When you're using the sum function, you are going to see that it have initial 2 arguments and a ... telling you that this function is a series function, which means you can sum 2 or more numbers. Okay, to get the first one now, you can do like, maybe you can get something like 1, 2, 3. It will sum it and give you the answer to be 6. But in this case, I'm working with real value, so let's work with it here. So if you have something I want to select from the beginning to the end that are on the same linear linear line, all you have to do is to just use the column sign, that dot colon. Okay, so we are going to select colon. So I select the first value we have there on column I3, then we use the colon and set it down towards column I13. So we say down to column I13. In other way, you can just drag this and it will still serve the same purpose. Okay, you can see that everything has been selected over there. So now we can hit the enter key and we'll get the summation down there. So let's expand this a little bit, and that means we're going to center this more again to look more perfect. Yeah. So the next thing is to get the calculation for the GPA, but there's no CGPA for 100 level first semester, so we're going to leave this place blank. We have this design for other purpose because your GP is the same thing as your CGPA, but in real sense you don't have CGPA because CGPA is cumulative. So first semester 100 level is your GP. It's when you enter second semester and you're done with second semester, you don't have CGP. So in essence, we're going to leave it blank, but let it be there for now for the sake of the development. So next, we're getting the GP. Remember, the formula for getting GP is GPA, which is grade point average, is the summation of total grade point all over the summation of total credit registered. It is a total grade points, and this is a total credit registered. So we're going to divide this. All we need to do is to say equal to, then we'll select this, that is column I14 divided by column E14. That is how it works. So everything here will be how it is, automatic. We're not doing any other thing there. So we can hit the enter key, and that is all. As you can see here, it gives us the GP like kind of so perfect to 2 place of decimal. But what if you have value that it can't give you perfectly? For instance, maybe let's say something that here is 41, 44, so okay, let's say you have, I change the value so that we can get the so we can treat something. You know, GP or CGP cannot be more than 2 place of decimal. So the highest approximation that can happen is to 2 place of decimal. So like in this case where we are having 3.125, it can only be approximated to 3.13. So to do this, all we need to do is to select this, ensure that everything that is entering this cell is not passing 2 place of decimal. So we go to the place of decimal there and decrease it. So anyone, even if the division is going to give like even 10 decimal to 10 place of decimal, it to approximate it down to 2 place of decimal, because that is what we have set as the standard now when we are following the standard, which is the actual standard. So this is how this work, and this is the major part of the work. Every other thing that has to do with this development is just copy and paste. It's copy and paste, because already we have the formula that will be controlling each of the results for each of the semester. So if you want to get for other semester, all you have to do is we just copy this, then we change, we just copy the we just enter the credit unit, the course title, and the course code, and that is it. The remaining job will do itself. So for this, we are done with the phase 1 of it, and the second part of it is even more easy. So we're going to be doing copy paste to fill it up for the second semester and the remaining levels, that is 200 to 400 levels on this BMAS, and it's the same thing that will be applicable to CCMAS. We're not doing any other thing again. So see you guys in the next video.